Thank you for tuning into our podcast, Canal Days, What Life Was Like in the Industrial Connecticut River Valley of Massachusetts. I am your host, Carrie, and joining us today is Holyoke's very own local historian and creator of the historical tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Comu. He personally offers and leads public and private tours, as well as presentations of historical sites within communities throughout the state of Massachusetts. Currently, the communities he has chosen to focus on this year are Holyoke, Chicopee, South Hadley, and East Hampton, and also Granby and Amherst as well. His tours spotlight the local canals, reservoirs, cemeteries, and churches, as well as various parks, streets, and selected historical houses within each community. Today's episode will be discussing the All Saints Episcopal Church in Springfield, Massachusetts. Tell us about the history of the All Saints Episcopal Church.
All right, nice little church, and that's why it's popular, because it's a compact little place that looks cute. And so the history of the church is that in 1908 it was built there, and it was built a church, a rectory, and then the hall is in the back. The rectory is towards the right side. All right, and we're going to talk about the style that it was made in and what its Oakland Street neighborhood is like. This church happens to be at 39 to 41 Oakland Street. And then we're going to talk about what was imposed upon this church. And thus, we'll start with all of the history. The history of the church is such that the Episcopal Church wanted to have a place in the Forest Hill neighborhoods of Springfield. And this was a nice little place to start with. There's another Episcopal church that's much larger, and that came a little bit later. That's on Sumner Avenue. And this one was kind of a setup to get it all going. And because of its little cuteness, it's always popular with passerbyers. They wonder what it is, and it's in a beautiful neighborhood.
And what style is the church?
The style of the church is called a Tudor Revival Church, and you can tell that by looking at the gable on the social hall in the very back right, and there you see the sticks coming down, are dark brownish to give it that look, and then it has a quaint, small, composed look with a light tan and light brown. That's very typical of these Tudor Revival kind of either homes or churches. And this one really makes it look good. So it's not heavy with it, so I would say it's a light one of that Tudor style. And it has beautiful red doors both in the social hall and in the front porch of the church itself.
And real quick before we continue with the rest of our interview, just to fill our listeners in, for more information or to sign up for any of his various tours, check out his website at holyokecanaltour.org. And there you can find videos and podcasts of the stops along each of his tours, as well as photos and text of the historical sites throughout as well. And for private tours and other inquiries, you can email him directly at bobcat4214@yahoo.com. And his tours make for fun, educational, outdoor activities for families and group parties. So getting back to our interview, what is Oakland Street like?
Oakland Street has upon it many institutions. At the very end of it, not actually on Oakland Street, they have the Forest Park Library, and then across the street from that, they have the Forest Park Post Office. Now, back on Oakland Street itself, on the side of the street where you have the All Saints Episcopal Church, you also have Kessler Israel's former location, still there, but it's something else now. So you had a Jewish synagogue there, and you also had a Hebrew school, which was a high school for Jewish boys and girls, and it was actually combined from a couple other high schools that were separate synagogue areas. And that's still there. It's no longer a school in that sense anymore. Now across the street, you have a little bit more. You have a middle school going. Okay, the Forest Park Middle School. And so you got quite a bit on one short street. You have an incredible amount of things going. Now, if you go to the other end of the street, of Oakland Street, as it comes to Sumner Avenue, you actually can see across the way, diagonally towards the southeast, you can see another Episcopal church. This one from the 1920s, made in a grand style. So that's why I'm saying this old Saints Episcopal Church was kind of a predecessor to get that one going. So there's quite a bit, and this is a beautiful neighborhood.
And what has Springfield done with the church's campus?
They made it into a local historic district, and there's several of them around Springfield. They each were imposed on a small area, but an area that will capture the beautiful, unique architecture of that particular building or campus. Right? You might think they might impose it on a large structure like St. Michael's Cathedral or one of the other churches. No, they tend to impose it on very unique looking architectural styles. And for instance, the Immaculate Conception Church and the Orchard is on there. All right? And these kind of things are unique. St. Michael's Church itself, it doesn't have a real unique look to it. So, if you're unique in Springfield, the local historic district will probably be imposed. Now that's very restricted. It means you have to keep the facade historically accurate. The insides could change, and often they do change because, for instance, this church right now is not even a church. It's something else. But they have to keep the facade of all on the campus to look like it did historically. Right, that's very imposing in a lot of different ways, but it keeps neighborhoods looking the way they did in the past.
And thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours and historical topics of your expertise. And we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. You can check out a large selection of our podcasts at his website, as well as